Hello, I wanted to make this video because I've been feeling a little anxious lately and I wanted to talk about ways of grounding and feeling more connected to my body and just being present in the moment, because I feel like a lot of the time when I'm anxious, my energy feels very up in the air and in the open and not with me, for lack of a better word. And these are just some of the ways that I feel like I can bring my energy back to me and, yeah, feel just more connected to myself and my body and just be more present and grounded in the moment. I think one of the easiest ways, I guess, one of the ways that requires less energy, I suppose, is just deep breathing. Deep breathing is very healing to me. It's like medicine to me. It can be quite hard in the moment, especially when you are ungrounded or anxious, and to just stop and pull yourself out of that and think, okay, I'm just going to drop down into my body now and I'm going to do some deep breathing just to connect me more with my body and just focus on that breath rather than the things that maybe we are trying to control that we can't. I've been watching The Assembly lately, I think that's what it's called. It's basically when like a group of neurodivergent people interview different celebrities. I watched the Danny Dyer episode where he spoke about meditation and just taking deep breaths to handle anxiety. I think we can get really disconnected to our bodies and forget that we're even breathing and just forget how much our bodies are doing for us in the moment. And yeah, Danny just spoke about how meditation really helps him with his anxiety, and it was a really beautiful moment in the show actually, where he basically for like a couple of moments just told everyone to close their eyes, and he breathed in and he counted to 1, and then he just let the breath out and counted to 2, and then he breathed deeply in again and went back to 1, and it was a very like peaceful, lovely moment and exercise for everyone to do. Yeah, breathing, it drops us into our bodies, it makes us more aware, it presents us with the moment, especially if we are breathing with intention and acknowledging our breath. I just feel more connected to my body and my environment. Another one is maybe quite similar, it's meditation. It's maybe trickier. I think when a lot of people, including myself, when I first got into it, when we hear the word meditation, we can get overwhelmed by the idea of just sitting with ourselves in silence or minimal sound. But I think there's a misconception and an unnecessary pressure that we put on ourselves to be perfect and present and to come out of this meditative state with this big, amazing feeling or get to this amazing place or this realization, which meditation can do, but mostly over time, and like with everything else, you will have good days and you will have bad days with it. But I think just setting the intention to be with yourself and your body and putting aside some time for yourself is already just something to be so proud of. You are acknowledging that you would like to be grounded or find some inner peace and inner calm, and that's a beautiful thing. I think the main thing with anxiety is to acknowledge it and allow yourself to feel it or observe it without judgment. I think, and don't quote me on this because I'm not an expert, but I think the main idea with meditation is just to observe yourself and observe your thoughts without attachment or putting meaning towards them. Again, I'm coming back to The Assembly, but I think what made Danny talk about meditation and his anxiety was that someone asked him the question of how do you control your anxiety? And while I admired that guy for standing up and asking that question, because it is a really important question, and I think mental health and anxiety should be spoken up about a lot more and just be spoken about freely, I think the word control is maybe putting too much pressure on yourself. We're not trying to control the anxiety. We're just here to acknowledge it and just observe it and just maybe ask, okay, why are you here? What do you want? What are you telling me? being with yourself in the here and now with your body, you're allowing your body to just think and feel without any sort of judgment or trying to push it out or push it away. I do guided meditations a lot. It helps me if I have a voice just guiding me through, especially if there is something specific that I want to focus on or achieve. So sometimes I do like throat chakra guided meditations or like anxiety meditations. Sound bowls can really make me feel calm and peaceful as well. But I'm not the best at it. I still have moments practically every day where I start to just daydream or I think too much into my thoughts. And then I lose a moment or even a couple of minutes of the meditations. And sometimes I just have to go back and quickly, go back to the meditation, rewind. But practice really does help, and, to find focus and center and balance and calm. And even if I do find myself daydreaming or getting away from it, it still helps me to find that balance and that calm before I start my day. And I am getting better at not shaming myself or putting myself down for losing presentness, because I will simply realize what's happened and think, oh, all right, that's fine. Now we can try and be present again and just move on. When I do feel really scattered and all over the place, I tend to just keep my eyes open. I know a lot of people meditate with their eyes closed. I do tend to. But when I do feel like my energy is really scattered, I know that when I close my eyes, I'm just going to daydream or, lose presentness. So I tend to just open my eyes, observe my surroundings, and listen to voice guiding me or whatever I'm listening to. It just helps me to feel like my energy is mine. It helps me to feel like it's not scattered. And there are so many ways to meditate, in my opinion. It's not just sitting, closing your eyes, which leads to my next thing that I want to talk about, which is hobbies. I think hobbies are amazing because they're meant to be fun and enjoyable. Whether they're calm and relaxing or whether you're an adrenaline junkie, they're enjoyable in the moment. Your energy is all with you because you're enjoying the moment. It's not scattered. You're not worried about the past or the future. You are just in the moment with your energy and your joy for the thing that you're doing. And hobbies really can be anything. But I think for me personally, it helps especially when you are doing something physical with your hands and when you're feeling something and noticing the texture or the shape, or again, whatever you can do where your focus is in your body and your senses. It's like making things with your hands, like baking, painting, clay, woodwork, gardening, like feeling the soil, the roots, going kayaking, flying a kite or whatever. It's just being with yourself and being with the process. Whenever I bake, it's sort of like this meditation for me because I do feel calm and centered and content and at peace. Yes, I may be thinking about the outcome, but that's the near future sort of thing, and it's not really giving me any sort of stress or anxiety. I am just really focused on the process and enjoying it. I just feel very connected to myself and at peace because I'm not putting any sort of expectation on myself or the outcome, because I'm doing it because I enjoy it. And I think people still put so much pressure on everything they do to be perfect. And so it makes the process stressful. And if your hobby brings you stress, you really need to reevaluate while you're doing it. If you just don't enjoy it and that's why it's stressful, you should get a new hobby. But if it's stressful because you're just putting pressure on yourself to create something perfect, you need to stop. You need to take a step back and relearn how to hobby, basically, because hobbies are about enjoyment and peace. They're not about being perfect. The things that I bake are not perfect. When I colour outside the lines. When I read, sometimes it takes me a really long time to get into a book or read some words because I am dyslexic. I cannot paint very well. I can't really make anything good out of clay either. But I enjoy the process. I find these things peaceful. I find them grounding. I don't do these things because I'm looking to be perfect at doing them. I'm doing them because they're fun, and I don't care what anyone else thinks or how I'm perceived or how the things that I create and produce are perceived, because they're things that I am doing for myself and not for anyone else. Another thing that I would like to talk about is cleansing. Sometimes when I feel really anxious or disconnected from my body, I like to cleanse because it's a visual representation of getting rid of old energy and letting new intentions in, letting that new energy in. It just helps to make things feel fresh and energized and good rather than maybe stagnant, because sometimes things just feel off and you don't know why, and that's okay. I think for me, when sometimes I'm anxious but there's not really any rhyme or reason, that's okay. We're allowed to just feel off some days, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes when things feel off for me and I don't know why, cleansing just makes me feel a bit better. You can cleanse in many ways. Different ways and different techniques are gonna resonate with different people, and that's completely okay. I think the main thing with cleansing though is just intention. I think intention is very, very powerful, and if you put intent to things that you are doing, then it will have a more of a powerful outcome. So you can cleanse with incense and intention, or even with just your arms, just like wafting the energy, making sure that you have like an open window or something, just to let that old energy out and letting the new energy in as well. It's just all about inviting fresh energy in. And I think when something's making me feel anxious or just disconnected or off, it can just help to feel refreshed in my space and in my surroundings. Another thing you can do is just reshift or reorganize your things, your space, get rid of things, dust or tidy, shower and or have a bath to cleanse yourself, do your laundry, sit outside and just let the air move through you with the intention of cleansing. But the main thing is just the circulation of new fresh air and new energy, and that's just the easiest way to do it, is to just with intention letting the air cleanse you, and it just helps to make me feel better and more connected and rooted to myself. Sometimes having that old energy around me just makes me feel like all my other energy is just scattered or stagnant. Why am I broken? That word sounds so not like a word to me. Anyway, but yeah, it's just kind of like a visual, physical representation and feeling of a new beginning, a fresh start. And we can always choose to have a fresh start at any moment, but that's just like a physical reminder. The next thing I want to talk about, we've covered basically already, but it's just fresh air. Opening a window, breathing in the air, sitting outside, or even walking. I know when you're anxious, sometimes going outside can seem like a big ask for yourself, but I think just learning when to push yourself and when to not, and that will come with time. But yeah, there might be a certain place that brings you comfort or joy or inspiration. For me, I love the beach and I love bodies of water. There's something about the water that my body and spirit just responds to. I don't know if it's because I'm a water sign or, whatever, but it just awakens me and gives me energy. And every time I have writer's block and creative block, if I was feeling stuck creatively or just in general, going to the beach just feels like it solves all of my problems and just reminds me to keep in a flow state as well. The beach flows, the water flows, tide comes in, it goes out again. So the sounds are very calming and grounding, but it also reminds me that everything comes and goes in its own time. Everything happens without rush or pressure and with ease. And that's just in general for Mother Nature. Not just the beach and the tide, but with everything, nature is just left to her own devices and just blooms and produces and grows when she needs to. And I think that that's just like a perfect reminder of what we need sometimes. It's chaos, but it's also beautiful. And, every tree, flower, plant is different, but it's still beautiful and has a purpose. And it's just a reminder that everyone is beautiful and purposeful, and we're all going to do things within our own time. Also, being out in nature as well, she doesn't judge or expect things. She just is, and she lets you be. Another great way to ground and be in your body is movement and moving. I think it's easy to roll your eyes or feel pressure to work out or be great at some sports. I am not a sporty girly, and I think that there are so many more fun ways to move your body than just what we're taught. Don't get me wrong, if you love sports, that's great, but they're just not for me. When I was in the depths of my anxiety when I was a teenager, all I did that made me feel better was walk. I put my headphones on and I just walked around for hours. And anxiety is just energy, and I felt like I had all the energy in the world. It's a funny thing because anxiety is such an exhausting thing and can make you feel so tired, but your mind is also working overtime with all of these thoughts, and you're on edge, you're in a state of sort of fight or flight or freeze. You're basically in survival mode, so you're always tense. But at the same time, this anxiety is like a build-up of energy. So it's basically your mind and body being really sleepy, but you've just chugged an energy drink. So just trying to find ways of releasing that energy in a way that is fun and doesn't sound like a chore and isn't too straining for your body, because again, you are dealing with anxiety, which is a very overwhelming, exhausting thing on the mind and the body. So we don't want to do anything that's totally unappealing. And this could be anything like dancing, walking, jogging, playing golf, running around with your kids, going to a rage room if you want, swimming, kayaking, like whatever. It doesn't have to be this amazing big thing where you go to the gym every day and are the best at every exercises. You could be if that's your thing, but it doesn't have to be. I think moving your body just should be fun and you will feel better for doing it. I'm not saying it will make the anxiety totally go away, but I think it will help to release some of that energy. Also as well, I do workouts, but I do also have to watch like a show or a podcast to distract myself from the fact that I'm working out. Just finding those little ways to make it fun and enjoyable, and you don't have to push yourself to go all the way. I rarely do. And if I do, it takes me a while to get into that, but that's okay. You will always have off days, and that's okay too. I think showing up for yourself will look different every day because your 100% will also look different each day. Another thing I've got down is consuming media thoughtfully. I love YouTube and books and TV shows and films, but there was a time when I consumed media, especially YouTube and other social media platforms, that made me feel like utter shit. I've now built up my YouTube subscriptions as a place of things that I would like to aspire to, or people that inspire me, rather than people and things that I think I should want. Because I found with watching some content that it made me feel anxious or sad or guilty for not achieving certain things or for not having my life look similar. And I would get really anxious and beat myself up about this. But when I asked myself and my spirit if I truly wanted these things, it would be a no. It was just that these people look so happy or quote put together in these videos, and in some way would fit into what I thought was societally acceptable and expected of me, if that makes sense. Whereas when I found content that actually inspired me or that I could actually resonate with, I didn't feel anxious or overwhelmed because it was actually something that I knew sparked joy within me, and it felt like something that was and is actually meant for me, as opposed to something that I told myself I had to be or achieve. And I think it's still okay to have those moments of anxiety or even sadness when you think maybe you'll never achieve the things that you want to be. It's okay to have bad days and wobble moments, but that's when you've got to step away from the social media altogether and read a book or go outside. But I think overall, the media that you do consume should make you feel happy and at peace with yourself and not make you feel anxious because you think you should be aspiring to something that actually won't bring you happiness, because then you can just get into that trap of how people perceive you and what you should be doing compared to what actually brings you joy and what you're actually, quote, meant for, if that makes sense. And also, media is just there to have fun. It's not there to be taken seriously. Something that I started to do when I was a teenager as well, when I would get really anxious, was carrying things with me. I called them my anchors because they were and are physical things that help me feel connected to myself and the earth, and yeah, just help me stay connected and grounded to my energy while I was out. It can be different things like crystals, trinkets, even perfume. Literally anything that makes you feel safe, and any physical thing that you can hold on to or maybe smell that calms you down, brings you back into your body and presentness. The items that you bring with you can even be like tattoos or piercings. Again, just that something to make you feel calm and peace and just a reminder of who you are. I've kind of built up this image of a meadow in my head as like my safe space. If you don't or you can't carry anything physical with you, or you can't find a certain smell, having that sort of like visualization of like a safe space that you can have in your head really helps as well, just to ground you. And the last thing that I wrote down is prayer. I don't mean to trigger anyone by this. I know some people might have like religious trauma or whatever, but I mean prayer in sort of a different way, I guess. So just talking aloud or in your head and sharing a moment with, you know, God, the universe, divine, a specific deity, a passed on loved one, even again just to Mother Nature and the wind, or to yourself. This can really help if you feel like you have no one to turn to. You're still having this time to yourself for acknowledging what you're going through and also how amazing you're doing, and connecting to that love, whether that be the love from yourself or from, you know, a higher power or whatever. I believe that love and connection is within us all, so we all have the ability to connect to that love energy and acknowledge and hold space for ourselves. I know holding space has come kind of like a meme now thanks to the Wicked press tour, but my therapist taught me about holding space before that, and so I think it's very important that we do hold space for ourselves. Prayer is much like journaling. I think it's just letting it all go. So holding space for yourself in a safe environment where no one can judge you, either again in your head or out loud, and write a letter if you want as well to someone. This can again be anyone, and obviously you don't have to post it or anything. When I was younger, I used to write letters to old Hollywood stars because I love old Hollywood, and it was just a little thing that made me feel heard and made me feel like I was being listened to, and like there was someone else acknowledging and sharing that burden as well, and just thinking about how they would respond, and again embodying that love for myself. And again, this might not solve everything, it probably won't, but a problem shared is lessened. The burdens will feel less strong. Even if you don't believe that anyone is listening, you are still, like I said, holding space for yourself and setting intention for guidance or protection, and that intention again is so strong and powerful. Even if you just pray to yourself or your future self and set the intention of love and peace, you're still acknowledging how you feel and allowing space for yourself to acknowledge your feelings. You are feeling these thoughts and these anxieties, and then you're letting them go off to someone or somewhere else. I have spoken for way too long now, so I will let you go.